around, Mom.
Monica.
You go up there. Hey, Jesse.
Well, I'm really glad that we could all be here. Some of you may be wondering why we are all here. Well, we have come to honor a very special person. A person who has stood as an example to others and who cheers up everyone they interact with. A person who in general makes the world a better place. It is not every day that people get the opportunity to say thank you to those that have impacted their lives in a profound way. Or at least people do not take the opportunity to say thank you when they should. For this reason, we have gathered together to express our love and gratitude to this very special person. It has been said, let a mother counsel her children with love as well as with knowledge, for a proud youth may not heed his mother's words, but he will not forget the love. This certainly applies to the life of Carol Jensen Criddle Royhunt. On December 4th, 1939, in a small farmhouse 5 miles outside of Downey, Idaho, Carol was born. She was named Carol because her birthday was so close to this month. Incidentally, the small farmhouse where she was born was the same house her father had been born in 39 years earlier. Carol would live in this house for the first 4 years of her life. This is quite amazing when you realize the little house had no bathroom, just an outhouse, which Carol had to run out to in the middle of the night. Carol is the second child born to James and Bessie Jensen Criddle. However, she has 3 older brothers from her father's first wife, Vesta, plus a younger sister and 2 younger brothers. Carol's forefathers migrated from England, Scotland, and Norway. Carol jokingly blamed her Scottish blood for her frugalness. At the age of 4, Carol moved to the big city of Downey, where she lived until she left college. Being raised on a farm, Carol learned to ride horses. It must have been in these formative years that Carol learned the healing art of backbone. Carol remembers how her father was of the opinion that his daughter should not have to do farm work. In fact, on the occasion when he and Carol's brothers were out of town, James actually paid an aunt to milk the cows rather than make his daughters do it. Nonetheless, farm work had to be done, and that meant that on Christmas, everyone had to wait until the cows were milked before any presents could be opened. Carol grew up with a lot of friends. However, she says her mom was a real fun one and questions whether her friends were actually coming to visit her or her mother. Carol was active in singing and student government while at Marsh Valley High. She was also always very intelligent, evidenced by graduating valedictorian of her high school. Carol might have been naturally intelligent, however, she also pushed herself to do well. On one incident, a high school math teacher came the first day of class, left the textbook, and told all the students that they were to pass the test on their own. Well, rather than get discouraged, Carol motivated herself to learn the material and pass the class. This shows a wonderful trait of Carol's, the love of learning. At the age of 19, Carol left for BYU on an academic scholarship. Carol recalls how studying became her job because it literally paid for her education while attending college. But don't worry too much about Carol. She still managed to fit in a fair amount of dates, including a couple of proposals of marriage. She graduated with a bachelor's degree in human development and family relations, coupled with an education composite. If studying had really been her job, Carol would have received the Employee of the Month award. She graduated salutatorian from the College of Family Life. During her sojourn at college, Carol's mother developed a brain tumor and passed away. This was most likely the hardest time of Carol's life. Carol had and still does admire her mother above all other women. She describes her simply as goodness. The impact which her mother's death had is illustrated by Carol's statement. Mom died when she was 52, I was glad in 1953. After graduation, Carol accepted a teaching position, and for the next 3 years, she was extremely busy teaching second graders. In addition, during this time, she met and married, rather quickly, Glenn Royhunt. I guess in this situation, the old adage is true. It was love at first sight. Over the next 34 years, Carol gave birth to and raised 10 beautiful, extremely gifted, sensitive, caring, energetic, talented, and basically well-rounded children. Brag there a little bit. Carol's life continued to be busy and successful. Not only has she taken on the gigantuous role of mission mom, she has also served in other capacities of the church, currently serving in the Relief Society presidency. However, if asked what her most important role in this life has been, Carol would undoubtedly respond, raising my children and supporting my husband. And this is exactly what she has done so successfully. If a man's worth is truly measured by what he leaves behind, how great is Carol's worth? 10 children and 11, soon to be 14, grandchildren. Rather than do the impossible and some of the effect Carol has had on these individuals, I think it only proper that they speak for themselves. So without further ado, we will now begin our thanks to Mom for all she has done for us by remembering what makes her so special. And by the way, this program is entitled I Remember Mama. Oh, and I got some balloons here. I had 10 balloons, one representing each of the children. One pop, so that represents Elizabeth. So, Dave, if you want to come first, and right now we're only doing your tribute. Do the family.
Oh, family's after?
Yeah.
You drop the podium. When I asked the kids to either write something or tell me something they think about when they think of Grandma, they gave the following responses. Daniel said, when I think about Grandma, I think of the good food she makes and how nice and loving she is. Another thing I think about Grandma is how she lets you do things, how she helps you when you're having trouble. Some of the words I think describe her are caring, awesome, reverent, obedient, and loving. If you put the first letters of each of these words together, you can spell Carol. Rachel, when I asked Rachel, she said, she's pretty, she has green eyes, she wears pretty pants and shirts and dresses, she wears church shoes, she's nice, she's sweet, she took care of 10 children, and she wears nice earrings. And we asked Angela, she said, I remember when she taught me to dance to the Jumbo song. And I like her lipstick. Nathan said she is nice. Jana just talked a little bit about her first recollection of Mom. She says, my first recollection of Mom was the first time I saw her in church, coming in wearing her green German dirndl with her 9 kids. I was especially excited that she had brought a boy that was my age. Now that I am expecting my 5th child, I am in awe that Mom had another 5 after that. I think she has done a great job raising her family. And then this was for me. I have many great memories of Mom. Nothing stands out as a turning point or single most important event. I just have a collection of memories of Mom being Mom, caring for each of us, cooking, conversing, and filling in for Dad when he was busy with work and callings. Mom was always thrifty. She wanted the best for us, yet was consciously concerned about being cautious in spending. I remember several times when she would return to a store to either pay for the things the clerk had missed or correct the clerk when they had overcharged. One thing was certain, she was consistent. I recall traveling to the MTC for my mission, and we stopped at a drive-thru for shakes. We had to return to the window because we'd been overcharged. Not even a trip to the MTC could get Mom around. I recall living in Salt Lake when Mark and I had the old black and white TV in our bedroom. I was planning to sneak and watch The Summer of '42, which called for parental guidance. With my door shut and the show about to start, Mom came in and said if I was going to watch it, she would be right there with me. She sat on the bed and watched the show. I don't remember anything about the show other than the title, but I do remember sitting there with Mom, feeling somewhat uncomfortable about the show. Mom has always been consistent about reminding each of us to make wrong choices, to remember who we are. I think the most frequently used words I heard from Mom are, I'm sorry. Mom was very unassuming and always a peacemaker. Mom genuinely felt bad if things didn't go as planned or were unpleasant. I remember talking to Mom about one of our kids having constipation and us needing to give them a suppository. Mom said that she had to do that to me several times when I was a baby and apologized for having done so. I was going to remember. I think I inherited Mom's curiosity. I want to know the scoop about everything. Over the years, this has led to many great conversations and visits. It was always comforting to know Mom would always be there to talk to. I will always appreciate her interest in our lives. I didn't ask the girls, this is more just from me. As I sit here this Saturday afternoon, my mind goes back to a lot of experiences that I had when I was young. Through hard times and good times, there was always a constant my mother. I can remember the day when I decided to cross a busy street alone and sit by a car. When I came to, I was afraid and didn't know what was going on. But then Mother showed up, and I knew that all would be all right. Mom was always my security blanket. Thinking back to the years gone by, I recall Mom and Dad getting all dressed up to go out of town. They always looked so spiffy and smelled so good. I always wanted to go out with them, but instead had to stay home with the babysitter. I still would have rather been with Mom and Dad out on town on at least one of their dates. The dates always seemed so mysteriously undercover. And I was always very curious to know what they did together that made even the anticipation of time alone. What they did together that made even the anticipation of time alone made their eyes smile. Sometimes Mom would punish me by spanking me. Her spankings never really hurt very bad. And they were sure a lot easier to take than Dad's. I think Mom had a hard time spanking us children because she didn't want to hurt us. Dad, on the other hand, wasn't afraid, so he the last thing in front of The most painful punishment of all was when Mom would let me know that I let her down. Seeing her sad always made me want to be better the next time around. Mom always took an active carrying part in my life. I remember when I got my first car, there was so much that I had to be done to the car to get it ready to be legally driven. Mom came to school to let me know how things had worked out with insurance and what the monthly payments were. She cared about what I cared about. She always wanted me to be happy. I remember when Dad sat us down and told us that Mom had an ulcer and was very sick. I was so worried that she wouldn't get better. I remember praying that the Lord would help my mother so that she would not have this problem. I stayed wide awake in bed, late into the night, thinking about how I didn't think that I would be able to make it if something happened to Mom. I knew that there would never be anyone that could take her place. I look back on the memories now that I'm older and can see how much Mom had done for me. She gave me a perfect example of a woman and a mother that I would look to for in a life. I have been so blessed to have been nurtured under the wing of such a wonderful angel mother. She is someone that loves the Lord and the gospel, and has always had and always has and always will. She sets the standards for my values and goals and ambitions in my life. She never fails to live up to the high esteem that I've always held for her. Now that I have kids of my own, I'd love to see them nurture her and call her grandmother. I've given her so many great memories. It is hard to believe that so much time has passed. And I want to thank you for all that you have done for me, for always being there. I will always will love you and proud to be yours.
We're not doing that, okay?
Joshua, you can't go by the camera.
You stay here.
Okay, the following are some of my memories with Mom. I remember how Mom used to always sing I Love You Truly to John while he went to bed. One time, when she had to go out of town with Dad, she had to tape record herself singing the song so that John could be able to fall asleep. Later, some of us went camping, including John, and we were all singing around the campfire. John was sitting on my lap. But when we started to sing I Love You Truly, he looked at Mom and went to sit on her lap. I thought that was special to see that bond between them. I remember once when we were living in Salt Lake and Dad was running behind due to meetings. Mom had a nice dinner ready for him and was a bit upset that he was late, so she taught us all the slow folk songs. You wait for them, you tears. So we all sang for Dad. I remember being a little girl in Salt Lake. Anytime I was walking to school or something like that and I heard a siren, I was always worried there had been an accident and it was going to the ambulance or fire car was going to where Mom was. And I guess I worried about her being home alone with all the little babies. I I also remember a time in Salt Lake when I watched Mom wax the floor. I thought it was so neat, I wanted to try it myself. So I poured a bunch of water on the floor and started waxing. I didn't realize the water actually took up all the wax, and I ruined all of Mom's efforts. I think she was a little frustrated with me. Remember that? I remember another time in Salt Lake when we all got dressed up in funny clothes and had our pictures taken for family night. I don't remember exactly, but I think Mom wore her swimsuit, but she was afraid Dad was going to show the picture of the She kept saying, now don't show this to anyone. I remember how my room would go in spurts of staying clean. Mom would try everything to help me keep it clean. Something that I really liked was the time she wrote me a poem that started something like, Mistress Mary, quite contrary, won't you please clean up your room? And then it went on, I don't remember how it went exactly, but it's in my scrapbook though. I thought it was so cute that she would write me a poem, and it worked. I actually cleaned up my room. Another time, it was a Sunday, and everyone's room was a mess, so Mom went around and took pictures of everyone's room. When I saw the picture, I was so embarrassed. I hadn't realized it was such a mess. There were clothes knee-high. I hated to think that there was a record, the picture, of my room ever being that dirty, so I cleaned it, and it stayed clean for quite some time after that. I also remember when I tried out for Miss World Teen Utah, my mom and Dad came down to see me, and I really appreciated their support. It was great to be able to hear them cheering from the teachers. I remember how Mom always liked to meet my dates, which worked out really nice since I was always running late.
Mary?
So Mom would meet them and entertain them for a while I finished getting ready. There was one time when I was going out with a guy from that I knew before my mission, but I couldn't remember his name. So Mom and I devised a plan that she would talk to him and find out what his name was, and then when we left, she would say, well, have fun, Mary, and whatever his name was. But just as the door rang, the phone rang too, and it was from Mom, so she had to go to the phone and couldn't meet him. So as we left, she just kind of looked at me from the phone, smiled like, sorry, and so I had to find out his name another way. I remember the time when Jeff's friends called during dinner and played the old Jeff then hang up game. And then Mom called back the friend and played the game on him, and I always thought it was so neat that she would participate. I remember how when we came back from Germany, that our house had an intercom system, and Mom would play FM 100 throughout the whole house, and I thought FM 100 music was the best, and Liz and I would dance to it in the kitchen. I remember how Mom always seemed happier when the house was clean. She always said it made her happier, and I can understand that now because I'm happier when my house is clean. I remember when Mom taught me to wash dishes. We were living in San Diego, and we had finished eating breakfast. As I was cleaning out the plates, and I think Mark was with me at this time, there was some leftover bacon that was still on the plate. I remember Mom getting mad at me and telling me that don't eat other people's food from the plate. I didn't think it was so bad because I was just finishing the bacon. I remember when Liz and I were washing dishes with Mom in Salt Lake. Mom was washing and we rinsed and dried, and we decided to have a race and see who could be faster. And Liz and I got way ahead of Mom. We thought she might feel bad that we were beating her, so we decided to slow down purposely. And I'm sure now that she wasn't mad, but she's probably happy that we were helping her at all. I remember once I made a birthday cake for Mom, and I was so young that the bowl was way over my head when I cracked the egg, and I didn't see that the eggshell fell in. And of course, it was a chocolate cake, so when it was baked, you could see white shells all throughout. But Mom was so nice to do it anyway.
Feel it as you ate it. Every bite, too. There was a crunch.
I remember when Mark got hit by a car, and David came running home in and told us. Mom was very pregnant at the time, and she ran outside in the carport, still holding a high chair. We were all scared and followed her. She told us to stay there, and then jumped right over the neighbor's fence, even though she was a great good child. I remember once when Rebecca started to choke, and Mom couldn't get her to clear her throat, and we all started to panic, and I remember just seeing her take Rebecca outside and shaking her upside down. I just launched that meme or whatever. Somehow it came out. I just remember thinking how funny it was to see Mom shake her upside down. And it wasn't funny then, it was scary then. I remember Mom telling us how when she was a little girl that there was only an outhouse at the church and how she had to wear underwear that had to be tied. And her sister wouldn't untie her underwear so she couldn't go to the bathroom.
Oh, she wouldn't tie him after her. Couldn't go back in the meeting.
I also remember saying
grandmother. So I always thought about that when we go visit Grandpa. Here's some memories that David has with Mom. He thinks she has a nice smile, that she's a good cook, and she's a good mother. And he remembers how she came to stay with us after David was born and helped us out. And at the time we both were together was when we were dating and we were in Salt Lake, that Sarah and Mom came down to visit us in Salt Lake. We went out to dinner at the Pizza Hut, and on the way home there were sirens going. Even though there was a green light where we could go through, all the cars were pulling over because there was a fire engine coming from the other side through the red light. The Mom didn't see the fire engine and proceeded to go through the green light. The fire engine had to yield to us. It's a little bit scary.
I forget those kind of things.
Anyway, that's fine. I started with longer nervous, but I didn't know if you were
Okay. Mom always seemed to know when I was down or depressed or if things didn't go just right at school. She would come find me, and she would always seem to make things right and help me feel better. I remember the school classes I struggled so hard with. I never understood the reading. Mom would read.
Her presence calms me just as hello if I did when I was young. I picture Mama's smiling face every time that I perform. And I remember not auditioning for some plays because I knew it would make Mother stop smiling. I remember realizing that Mother was more beautiful than all of the other moms. A theater professor once asked me how my mother kept herself looking so good. When I asked Mom what her secret was, she said, "It's because I'm happy." I guess I wasn't very happy in middle school because I remember Mother constantly asking me to smile more. Then in high school it turned into urges to flirt more. And of course I could never leave the house without that persistent reminder.
Precious sleep hours to make sure that I got mine. I know she didn't do it for praise or gratification. She simply did it because she loved me and cared for me. I still remember that simple little tune to this day. I also remember that when I was a big boy and I would have trouble sleeping, Mom would once again sacrifice her sleep to see that I was sleeping. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Mom would get out of her bed and find me a sleeping pill and then talk to me until my mind was at ease so that I could go to sleep. Yeah, there was no requirement that Mother had to do this. She simply did this because she loved me. Mom is also a guide. I could almost ride on Mom's coattails into the celestial kingdom because she has a strong enough spirit for the two of us. I'll always remember the saying Mom gave me when I was going anywhere. Mom always reminded me that I should always remember who I am and where I was going. Let me tell you though, it's a good thing she reminded me because that served as a guide to me throughout my life. Mom was never shy about her love for the gospel either. She loved and showed it in her actions. I believe every member in our family will spend the rest of their lives trying to live as Christ-like as Mom and Dad have. Mom is also a doctor of the best kind. I remember the time when I received frequent flyer miles for attending the emergency room. I made a visit to the emergency room on average of 3 times a year, and Mom was always there to dress and take care of my injuries. Mom even loved me so much that when she took out special insurance on me because I was so active. Whether she was taking me to the hospital, rubbing back balm on my cuts, or rubbing a mentholatum on my chest, putting a diaper cloth around my neck when I had a sore throat, Mom always took the role of Dr. Mullen. Mom loved to drive me everywhere also. I think it was her favorite thing to do. Especially when we only had one car and she was constantly driving everyone this way and that way. Even when I complained about not having a car so much, she continued on doing this thankless act of service. Mom also served as my maid for 19 years. When she wasn't driving me places, she was home picking up after me. Mom could find almost anything I lost in the house. She had a sensor on her nose that could sniff out any lost item. Again, Mom has continued this act of service her whole life, not because she was required to, but because she loves her family. Mom has also served as my phone receptionist for the last 2 years. This is why I get called so much, because my friends love to hear her friendly, lovely voice. She answers. Mom's entire life is so full of thankless acts of service that she simply does it, and she simply does it because she loves it. The final thing that makes Mom the best mom is something that I didn't even realize mothers could be until this last Sunday. And it's probably the most important part of mother to me right now. Not only is Mom my mom, she's also my friend. I never thought you could be friends with your mom until I realized how much fun it was. I never thought you could be friends with your mom until I realized how much fun it was to be able to have a mom you can talk about anything with or joke around with. I remember loving to come home in the summertime from working out of town because Mom and Dad would always love to hear my stories and talk to me about what was going on at home. Being able to have friends to joke around with is fun, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun when you can joke around with your own mother. I love Mother because she's always been a friend. Because I love Mother for she's always been and the friend that she has become. These are just a few things that make Mother the most dynamic mother in the world. And I know that when I start raising my family myself, I'll appreciate the way Mother raised me so much more. I guess the best compliment I could give you, Mother, is that I hope someday to be able to marry someone just like you. I love you, Mother.
Memories of Mom that comes to my mind. Hers 2 years ago, I Mom and I had gone to the mall to buy something. It was Saturday during the commission of January. A few jokes were told, but neither of us had really fallen for them. When we first arrived at the mall, I was joking around and asking Mom what she'd do if I came back and the car was ripped to shreds. Before we left, we stopped at the octopus store. Mom suggested that I think of some good April Fool jokes. And while I waited for her, automatically I thought of them. I told Mom that I would burst into the house, they were walking slowly after me until the family could cease the car and I would flash at the inside of the car and bashed in real bad. Then Ryan would look in and yell, "April Fool!" And it was that. Except Mom couldn't keep a straight face, so she stayed outside. I ran inside and told everyone about the car, but adding a little more detail. Rebecca ran outside and Dad followed shortly behind. We all ran to the car and looked in. Mom and I looked at each other and started to laugh. You're the greatest mom.
Now we have just a couple musical numbers from individual families, and then all of us have one. So we'll start with Dave Royland from Mark Royland from Elizabeth Bob's family, and then
Daniel's gonna play 2 songs. His first song will be a song that he learned for a recital. He has the second memorized. Play those. Want me to help you? Just move the piano here. And don't listen over there.
Fine, isn't it?